Hey everyone, it's Ron and I want to welcome you to a very educational webinar about how your retirement works. There are people watching this around the country, and if you could stand by, we're going to get started in just a moment. The fact that you're on this webinar means you're already ahead of the game. So I commend you and I want you to give yourself a big pat on the back and say, good job for being here. So in just a moment, I'm going to mute myself out. But before that, I'm excited to introduce our presenter today, he's already on the line. He's a great author who just finished his second book, The Ultimate Women's Retirement. But just a little bit of housekeeping information before we get started. I want to make sure you can all hear me okay. So if you could drop into the chat and put a big fat yes in the chat window so that I know that you can hear me, that would be perfect. Okay, I see some yeses coming in. Okay, good. Okay, good stuff. So it looks like everyone can hear me. That's good news. Now, also we know that multitasking doesn't work. If you're checking your email, Facebook, or whatever, or texting while on this webinar, then I promise you're not going to get anything out of this webinar. But if you pay attention, what we're going to be talking about in this webinar could absolutely be a game changer for you. So in a moment, I'll introduce David Laster. He's an author of 2 books. His first is on Amazon's bestseller list for the financial literacy category, and now his second, The Ultimate Women's Retirement, can be yours for free by sticking around to the end. David has been in the financial industry for 19 years. David has tons of clients, raving fans, and hundreds of reviews. Actually, since 2005, he has over 1,000 clients. Now today, David will reveal some secrets that Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know, and go over some ideas on how to fix your income gap in retirement so you can retire and stay retired. So without any further ado, I want to introduce you to my friend and your presenter, David Laster. And David, I want to welcome you. I'm going to let you take over and I'm going to mute myself out so you can go ahead and take it away.
Okay, great. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Laster, and I'm a nationally recognized financial literacy expert with a book on Amazon.com. Okay, now my job is to give you some valuable content that can actually save you thousands. It can prevent your nest egg from turning into a rotten egg. Whether you do business with me or someone else, you deserve to know because you work very hard for your paycheck. Now I'm very passionate about helping spread this valuable information, and I love what I do because I reveal the blind spots that Wall Street has been hiding for decades. Now the more that you watch this video, the more you'll be wondering, am I really prepared for retirement? Also, there are 7 specific questions the banks and Wall Street do not want you to know. I'm going to give you the top 3 in this presentation today. So let's get started. Now, in my book, my financial literacy book, I have a section called the iceberg concept. And the way that works is like this. There's 3 types of information in the world in regards to retirement. The first is information you know that you know. So, for example, you know how to drive a car. Okay, second is information you know you don't know. So you don't know how to fly a plane unless you have a flight license, okay, pilot license. But the third is this, information you don't know you don't know. So, for example, you see this iceberg, 90% of it is under the water. Okay, if you're on the boat, you don't even realize that it's there. Well, when you are driving on the freeway, okay, there's a car in your blind spot. You get over, what happens? You cause an accident, and it's going to cost you money, bottom line. Well, when you get to retirement, ladies and gentlemen, and there's some things that you do not know, guess what? It's going to cost you money. Okay, there's too many Americans retiring and coming back to work. I'm sure you know of some stories of some people you know at work that have retired, ran out of money, and came back to work. Don't let that be you. Don't let that be us. Don't be a statistic. Okay. So let's look at some statistics. Only 48% of U.S. workers have tried to determine how much they will need to save for a comfortable retirement. Basically, being able to pay their bills without stress. Okay. Now, next, I'm going to show you this video regarding the 401k. Why it's time to retire the 401k. Came out a few years ago by Time magazine. Pay attention.
This is going to unveil this week's new issue of Time Magazine. Time's managing editor, Richard Stengel. Rick, what are we looking at this week?
Well, we're looking at a subject that is bothering millions and millions of Americans, 70 million Americans to be exact. It is the problem of 401ks and why we need to retire the 401k and why it's not working for millions of Americans. If you had $100,000 in your 401k 5 years ago and you had the standard alignment of investment, you had less than that now. And what's been a disaster for people with going into the Great Recession and now coming out of it is that the way the 401k works is that the closer you are to retirement, the less choice you have and the more money you're likely to lose. So people who are retiring will go into their retirement with hardly anything in their 401k.
So we hear time and time again people having to work past retirement age, past 65, or some even working into their 70s because their life savings were blown over the past couple of years on 401k.
Right, and in fact, there's a quirk in the 401k, which is the closer you are to retirement, the more likely you are to lose money if the stock market goes down because you're putting less money into it. So that's what happened to a lot of people. So we talked to dozens and dozens of people who have retired but now have to work.
So what do we do instead?
Well, what we propose instead, and the story's by a young business writer of ours named Steve Gandel, is a insurance pension plan, where instead of paying that money into a 401k, 6% of your salary every week or month, you pay it into an insurance plan that guarantees you a pension, basically, for the rest of your life at about a quarter of your salary.
And that seems fair. I mean, the problem with the people who have lost all their money in their 401ks is that 401k isn't it supposed to be what you have when you retire? Why would you put money, 6% of your salary, into something that is a risk?
Well, it's a risk, and then it's also something where you deplete it. I mean, it's basically a bunch of cash that you have when you retire, and you're supposed to take out 4 or 5% a year. I mean,
and everyone's telling you that's the smart thing to do.
It was. There's a whole business. I'm not sure it was. I mean, it's not even 30 years old, right? So you have a whole class of people who have grown up, these investment advisors who take this thing and are telling you to do something that nobody has tested or not. It's like a vaccine that they haven't really tested. They don't know what the long-term influence is.
Okay, so question number 1. What is my real rate of return? Not the average return, but the real rate of return over the last 12 months. Let me tell you a story about a teacher. Okay, she was at a school and she brought her statements, and I looked at her statements, and bottom line, she had a negative 8% rate of return. Okay, so what you really want to do is look at your statements and call up your company and ask them this question: what is my real rate of return over the last 12 months? You'd be surprised what your rate of return is. It might be a negative, or it could be 1 or 2, but the market is very, very volatile right now. Okay? Now, in regards to retirement, most Americans depend on 3 things: Social Security, a pension plan, and personal savings. Well, the current situation with Social Security is pretty bleak, and pension plans are becoming extinct. So all we have really to fall back on is personal savings. And if you look at it as a stool, a 3-legged stool, and you have to take one leg away and the other leg is wobbly or messed up, then your whole retirement could be in trouble. So we want to have multiple streams of income when you retire, places where you can access money, multiple buckets. So Social Security, so we can help you to fix that income gap in retirement so you can retire and stay retired. So it's time for a reality check. Okay, more than 50% of working adults over 50 believe they may have to delay their retirement, and then 16% say they never expect to stop working. Well, I work with a gentleman in the office. He went to a retirement party about 30 years ago, and the person who was retiring, he was bragging. He thought he was set for life. Okay, he had $300,000 in the bank, house paid off, and he was completely debt-free, and he had a pension. Well, fast forward, that same gentleman had to go back to work because he started to run out of money. Look at the picture on the screen. You see a lot of older people returning back to work. Not a good situation. Okay? So factors that impact your lifestyle in retirement. Let's look at this. Market risk. Market is very volatile. Okay? Actually, in January of this year, it had its worst start in history ever. I repeat, ever. Inflation. The cost of milk, gas, and eggs is going to continue to go up. Taxes. Now, do you think taxes are going to go up, down, or stay the same? Probably, more than likely, they're probably going to go up. Then health issues. As you get older, obviously your body's going to break down. Okay? But let's talk about the 401k real quick. Now? Why is it not working? Because basically, the retirees that have retired, it's not working for them because it's basically a lump sum of money and they start accessing it. Eventually, it's going to start being depleted. It's going to run out of money. Okay? So question number 2. What is my total contribution since I started and my current total balance? So call up your company, find your statements, and get asking this question. What is my total contribution since I started and my current total balance? This will help you find out if you made money or lost money. You'd be surprised how many people just get their statements and they don't even read it. Now, this is the money that you're going to be living off for the rest of your life. You could be in retirement for 30 years or more. So basically the same amount of years that you were working, you can be in retirement the same or even longer because people are living longer. Let me tell you another story. I was with a lady about 2-3 weeks ago, within the last 2-3 weeks, and she looked at her statement and she had rolled over about $20,000 last year. Okay, $20,000, she rolled it over, and 1 year later, guess what her balance was? It wasn't 21, it wasn't 22, it was 19,000. So she had contributed money for 12 months and she was negative under what she had started with. So she started with 20, now she was down to 19. That's sad. That's your money. So you have to make sure you are getting a good rate of return. You have to make sure that your money is safe. Okay, so this is an article that came out a few years back. It says retirement savings 3% is the new percent. Basically what it means, the amount of money that you have in your 401k or your nest egg, in order for it to not run out, financial experts say that you can't take out more than 3%. Okay, so if we look at the numbers, if you had a 401k and you had $400,000 balance, you times it by 3%, that's $12,000 annually. Okay, now monthly that's $1,000. So is that enough to live on? Probably not. Okay, especially with inflation. And after taxes, because a 401k will be taxed unless you have the Roth 401k. Okay, make sure you can check your retirement provider and see if you can do a Roth 401k. That'll save you taxes in the future. But if you have a regular 401k, that's $720 after taxes, state and federal. All right, 28%. So let's look at some facts of life. If you tracked 100 Americans from age 25 to 65, 36 of them will be dead. 54 dead broke, 5 will still be working, 4 financially secure, and then 1 financially independent. Now, in this equation, most people would want to be top 1 or at least the top 5. Well, in order to be the top 5% of Americans, would you agree you have to be doing something different than everybody else, right? Okay. Well, look at the circle underneath this graph. Where do you think the bulk of your money goes? Mortgages? Rent? No. It's taxes. Okay. What the top 5% of Americans know to do is this. Use legal IRS tax loopholes to minimize their tax debt and pour it more into the green area, savings and investments. By the way, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, you know those guys, right? They pay less than 20% in income tax. Okay. Because they know some information that most Americans don't. So, 2 ways that most Americans put their money or save their money. Fixed or variable. Now, a variable is like a mutual fund, stocks and bonds. You can make 20-30%, but you can also lose that overnight, just like 2008. So that's a risk of principal. So that's going to leave a big income gap. So let's talk about taxes. Now, this is the most important slide on the whole presentation. If you miss this, you miss everything. So let's pay close attention. All right. So there's 2 ways to save for your future. There's tax deferred and there's tax free. Now, the way tax deferred works, you pay no taxes now, let your money grow for the next 20 years. Then when you access it, all of it is taxable. Or the other option, you pay taxes now while your salary is low. Then when you retire 20-30 years later, after your salary has increased, you pay no more taxes on your retirement. How about that? So 100% tax free at access. So this is the old way, and this is the new way. Interesting. Something to think about. So why wait to pay taxes on higher income later when you can pay taxes on lower income now for your retirement, because you will have salary increases, right? All right. Now let's put it into a story. Say, for instance, I'm a farmer. I have a bucket of seed. And right before I plant my seed, the tax man shows up. And he says, David, you need to pay tax on your seed. Well, I can't afford to pay tax now. Can he come back at harvest time and then tax me then? So I'm thinking he's doing me a great big favor. So what I do, I take my seed and I plant it. I let it grow and grow and grow and grow. And then 9 months later, guess who shows up? The tax man. Okay? And now he's smiling ear to ear. And I just realized he really didn't do me a favor, because now he's going to tax me on my entire harvest. See all that green out there? Okay. Well, when you pay tax on the harvest, it's just like having a tax-deferred 401k, a tax-deferred IRA, a tax-deferred 403b, a tax-deferred 457, where the government says, don't worry about paying your taxes now. We'll get you into retirement when you need your money the most. Well, guess what? Your house is probably paid off, your children are grown, and you're not contributing to retirement anymore. So more than likely, those taxes are really going to eat you up in retirement. Just ask your mother or your father. This is some homework. Ask your mother or father if they are paying the same amount or more in taxes while in retirement, if they're retired, or ask somebody in retirement. Okay? So question number 2, will I be taxed on the money as ordinary income when I withdraw it for retirement? Okay? Call up your company, ask them this question. Had a little error right there. That's okay. Now let's talk about health. Unexpected medical expenses cause 62% of all bankruptcies, 49% of all foreclosures, and 75% of the above had health insurance. So Kaiser and Blue Cross. Research shows at least 70% of people over 65 will need long-term care services at some point in their lifetime. So how big are your income gaps? Okay? Now, there's a right way and there's a wrong way to fill those income gaps. Some people might have a pension. Now, a pension is not going to pay your full paycheck, okay? Which is going to leave a gap. Let me go on to the next slide. Let's look at this, your piece of the pie. Say, for instance, your pension is going to pay you like 50, 55%, 60%, okay? Right now, you're living off 100% of your income. But when you retire, you're going to be making less. So that's going to leave an income gap. Big pay cut. So what a lot of people do to fill that income gap is they do an IRA, a 401k, or something like that. Well, unfortunately, those are decreasing assets. Eventually, you're going to start running out of money, as I said earlier. Okay, what we can do is show you how to fill that income gap by getting a lifetime income stream, which is basically a second pension. And if you qualify, you can get the money out completely tax-free. So let's see what others have said about my services and valuable information. Now, Elder and Sister Mitchell, I met with them at the beginning of this year. They said, I would give it a 10 on the enlightenment on what I learned and discovered a new vista in retirement. Cheryl Johnston, she also would give it a 10. Very informative and helpful. Glenda Arellano, she said, I felt very comfortable. I learned a lot and I didn't feel pressured. And one more testimonial, a video testimonial from Nancy Lemus.
Hello, my name is Nancy Lemus and I am a teacher at Estrella Elementary School. I have been working with David Bester and he has been helping me fill the income gap for my retirement. He has also been able to help me with other policies and how to make sure that I'm managing them correctly. And he has made me feel more comfortable and more wise about the decisions that I'm making as far as what needs to happen for when I retire.
Okay, great. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the information that I gave you?
I would give it a 10 because not only did you help me sort out some other issues that I had, you were very informative, and you also set me up on a really good policy that's leading me in the best direction at this moment and for my future.
All right, well, thank you, Rich.
All right, so to find out how to fix your income gap, please call for free consultation. It's a $75 value. Okay, call now, 877-372-8732. Once again, that's 877-372-8732. or go to www.dreamretirementsolutions.com. Thank you for listening.